The abandoned space station Horizon loomed before Kai Nakamura like a ghost ship, its hull pockmarked with asteroid impacts and scarred by decades of neglect. Kai maneuvered his small salvage vessel, the Rusty Nail, towards a docking port that looked marginally less damaged than the others. His heart raced with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Derelict stations often held valuable tech, but they could also harbor deadly surprises. As the airlock hissed open, Kai double-checked the seal on his environment suit. The station's life support had long since failed, leaving the interior a cold, airless tomb. He flicked on his helmet lights and stepped into the darkness, his boots clanging on the metal floor. "All right, old girl," Kai muttered to himself. "Let's see what secrets you're hiding." The beam from his helmet cut through the gloom, revealing a corridor choked with floating debris. Kai moved cautiously, using his suit's magnetic boots to stay anchored. He'd been on enough of these runs to know that one false step could send him tumbling into the void. As he made his way deeper into the station, Kai's sensors picked up faint energy readings. That was odd. Horizon had been abandoned for at least 50 years. Any power sources should have died long ago. Intrigued, he followed the signal, winding through a maze of corridors and chambers. The trail led him to what appeared to be a laboratory. Shattered equipment and torn papers drifted lazily in the zero gravity. Kai's eyes widened as he took in the scene. This wasn't just any lab. The tech here was far beyond anything he'd seen before. Some of it didn't even look human in origin. "Jackpot," Kai whispered, already mentally calculating how much this haul could be worth. But as he moved to examine a particularly intriguing device, a flicker of movement caught his eye. Kai froze, his hand instinctively moving to the blaster at his hip. Something was alive in here. "Hello," he called out, feeling foolish even as he did so. Whatever it was, it probably couldn't understand him. Another flash of movement, this time accompanied by a soft, distinctly feline yowl. Kai blinked in disbelief as a small, silver-furred creature emerged from behind a fallen console. It looked almost like a cat, but its fur seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly iridescence. Most strikingly, it wore what appeared to be a miniature version of a spacesuit, complete with a transparent helmet. "Well, I'll be damned," Kai muttered, crouching down to get a better look. The cat-like creature regarded him with startlingly intelligent eyes, tilting its head as if assessing him. Kai's mind raced. An alien life form. Here, on an abandoned human station, it didn't make sense. And yet, as he stared at the creature, he felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Slowly, careful not to startle it, Kai extended a gloved hand. "Hey there, little fella. You're a long way from home, aren't you?" The creature hesitated for a moment, then gracefully bounded towards him. To Kai's amazement, it leaped right into his arms, pressing its helmeted head against his chest. And then something extraordinary happened. A voice, no, not a voice, but a presence, touched Kai's mind. It was alien and yet somehow achingly familiar, filled with a mixture of relief, curiosity, and recognition. Kai staggered back, his head spinning. "What the hell?" he gasped. The presence in his mind grew stronger, more focused. It didn't communicate in words, exactly, but in a series of impressions and emotions. Kai got the distinct feeling that the creature was trying to tell him something important. Before he could process what was happening, a loud boom echoed through the station. Kai's suit sensors blared a warning. Another ship had just docked. The cat-like creature bristled in his arms, projecting a sense of urgent danger. Somehow, Kai knew that whoever had just arrived was bad news. Okay, he said, trying to calm both the creature and himself. "We're getting out of here." As Kai turned to leave, his eyes fell on a datapad half buried under the debris. Acting on instinct, he snatched it up, shoving it into a pocket of his suit. Then, with the alien cat cradled securely in one arm, he began to run. The journey back to his ship was a blur of twisting corridors and near misses as debris floated into his path. All the while, he could hear the sound of pursuit growing closer. Whoever these newcomers were, they weren't bothering with stealth. Kai's lungs burned as he finally reached the airlock where the rusty nail was docked. He slammed the door controls, sealing it behind him, then practically threw himself into his ship's cockpit. Come on, he muttered, his fingers flying over the controls. The engines sputtered to life just as a pounding began on the outer airlock door. With a final desperate push of the thrusters, the rusty nail tore free of the station. Kai didn't even pause to get his bearings, simply picking a direction and gunning it. It was only when the horizon had shrunk to a distant speck that Kai allowed himself to breathe. He looked down at the alien cat, still nestled in his lap, its strange eyes regarding him calmly. "So," Kai said, feeling slightly hysterical, "I don't suppose you can tell me what the hell is going on." The creature tilted its head, and once again, Kai felt that alien presence brush against his mind. This time, he got a clearer impression, gratitude, trust, and a deep, unshakable certainty that their meeting was no accident. As the stars streaked by outside the viewport, Kai realized his life had just become a whole lot more complicated. But looking at the extraordinary being in his arms, he couldn't bring himself to regret it. "Well, little one," he said with a wry smile, "I guess we're in this together now." The alien cat purred, a sound that seemed to resonate in Kai's very bones. And as the rusty nail hurtled into the unknown, Kai couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much larger adventure. As the rusty nail drifted through the vast emptiness of space, Kai Nakamura found himself in a situation he'd never imagined. The alien cat-like creature sat perched on his console, its silvery fur shimmering under the dim cabin lights. Kai couldn't shake the feeling that those intelligent eyes were studying him just as intently as he was studying it. "So," Kai said, breaking the silence, "I suppose we should figure out what to call you." He felt slightly foolish talking to the creature, but after the mental connection they'd shared earlier, it seemed rude not to. The alien tilted its head, and suddenly Kai felt a presence in his mind again. It wasn't words exactly, more like a series of impressions and emotions. He got a sense of agreement, and then, surprisingly, a clear image formed in his mind, a shining star, pulsing with energy. "Star," Kai mused, "is that your name?" The creature made a chirping sound that Kai interpreted as affirmation. "All right then, Star it is," he said with a small smile. "I'm Kai, by the way. Though I guess you probably already knew that, huh?" Star blinked slowly, projecting a feeling of acknowledgement. Then, without warning, a flood of images cascaded through Kai's mind. He saw flashes of a strange, bioluminescent world, of creatures that looked similar to Star but larger, more varied. He saw laboratories, felt fear and confusion, and then darkness, loneliness, a long period of waiting. Kai gasped as the connection faded, leaving him dizzy. "Whoa," he breathed. "That was intense. Was that your home, your memories?" Star's ears flattened slightly, and Kai felt a wave of sadness emanate from the creature. Clearly, there was a lot more to Star's story than he'd initially thought. Before Kai could ponder this further, an alarm blared from his console. His heart sank as he saw the readout. Several ships had just dropped out of hyperspace nearby, and they were heading straight for the rusty nail. "Damn it," Kai muttered, his hands flying over the controls. "Looks like our new friends caught up faster than I'd hoped." Star's fur bristled, and Kai felt a spike of fear and determination through their connection. The creature bounded onto his lap, its small form tense and alert. "Don't worry," Kai said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "This old girl's got a few tricks up her sleeve." He punched in a series of commands, and the rusty nail's engines roared to life. The ship lurched forward, accelerating rapidly. Kai weaved through a field of asteroids, using the space rocks as cover. The pursuing ships were faster, sleeker, clearly military-grade, but Kai had years of experience navigating treacherous terrain, and the rusty nail, for all her patchwork appearance, was more agile than she looked. As they ducked and weaved through the asteroid field, Kai felt something strange happening. The connection between him and Star seemed to be growing stronger. He could sense the creature's acute awareness of their surroundings, its instincts perfectly attuned to the ebb and flow of space around them. Acting on instinct, Kai relaxed his grip on the controls slightly. "All right, Star," he said. "Let's see what we can do together." The response was immediate. Through their mental link, Kai could suddenly perceive trajectories and paths he'd never noticed before. His reactions became lightning fast, the ship responding to his commands almost before he consciously made them. They burst out of the asteroid field, the pursuing ships momentarily left behind. But Kai knew they didn't have long before they'd be overtaken again. "We need somewhere to hide," he muttered, scanning the star charts. Suddenly, an image flashed in his mind, a swirling nebula filled with gas and cosmic dust. Perfect for losing pursuers. "The cerulean veil," Kai said, recognizing the formation. "Good thinking, Star." He set a course for the nebula, pushing the Rusty Nail's engines to their limit. As they approached the massive cloud of gas and dust, Kai felt a mix of exhilaration and fear. The cerulean veil was notoriously difficult to navigate, its swirling currents unpredictable and potentially deadly. But as they plunged into the blue-tinged mists, Kai felt a surge of confidence. With Star's alien senses guiding him, he wove through the nebula's treacherous currents with an ease that shocked him. Behind them, the pursuing ships hesitated at the nebula's edge. Clearly, they weren't willing to risk the dangerous navigation. After what felt like hours of tense flying, Kai finally allowed himself to relax. They'd lost their pursuers, at least for now. He looked down at Star, who was still curled in his lap. "We make a pretty good team, huh?" The alien cat purred, a sound that seemed to resonate through Kai's entire body. Through their connection, he felt a warmth, a sense of trust and belonging. It was a strange feeling, but not an unwelcome one. As the Rusty Nail drifted deeper into the nebula, hidden from prying eyes, Kai found his mind racing with questions. Who was Star really? Why were those ships so determined to capture them? And why did he feel such a strong connection to this alien creature? He pulled out the datapad he'd snagged from the abandoned station, hoping it might provide some answers. As he activated it, strange symbols flickered across the screen, clearly not human language. Star perked up, placing a paw on the screen. Immediately, the symbols began to shift, rearranging themselves into something Kai could almost understand. "Well," Kai said, a mixture of excitement and trepidation building in his chest, "looks like we've got some reading to do." As the blue mists of the nebula swirled around them, Kai settled in, ready to unravel the mystery they'd stumbled into. Whatever secrets the datapad held, he had a feeling their adventure was only just beginning. The soft glow of the datapad illuminated Kai's face as he pored over its contents, Star curled up beside him. Thanks to their strange mental connection, the alien symbols were slowly becoming comprehensible, revealing a story more incredible than Kai could have imagined. "Project Starbond," Kai read aloud, his voice hushed with awe. "A joint venture between human scientists and an advanced alien race called the Luminary." Star's ears perked up at the mention of the Luminary, a wave of recognition washing through their mental link. As Kai delved deeper into the files, a picture began to form. The Luminary were a highly evolved, telepathic species who had made contact with a select group of human scientists. Together, they had embarked on a secret project to create a new form of life, one that combined Luminary telepathic abilities with human adaptability. "That's you, isn't it?" Kai asked, looking at Star. "You're the result of this project." Star blinked slowly, projecting a mix of confirmation and uncertainty. There was still much about its own origins that the creature didn't understand. Kai continued reading, his excitement growing. It says here that the Starbomb subjects were meant to be mediators, a bridge between human and Luminary consciousness. But something went wrong. Before he could read further, the Rusty Nail's proximity alarms blared to life. Kai's heart sank as he checked the sensors. Multiple ships were entering the nebula, their energy signatures matching those of their earlier pursuers. How did they find us so quickly? Kai muttered, scrambling to the controls. Through their link, he felt Star's sudden realization. The creature projected an image of itself with a small, pulsing light at its core. A tracker, Kai breathed. They must have implanted you with some kind of beacon. There was no time to dwell on this revelation. Kai fired up the engines, once again relying on his and Star's combined senses to navigate the treacherous nebula. But this time, their pursuers seemed more prepared, more willing to take risks. As they weaved through swirling clouds of cosmic dust, laser fire erupted around them. The rusty nail shuddered under the assault, warning lights flashing across the console. "We can't keep this up forever," Kai gritted out, narrowly avoiding a direct hit. "We need a plan." Star's mind reached out, projecting a series of rapid-fire images. Kai saw a small planet, shrouded in mist, hidden deep within the nebula. A sanctuary. "You know a place we can hide?" Kai asked, hope rising in his chest. Star chirped affirmatively, feeding coordinates directly into Kai's mind. Without hesitation, Kai set a course, pushing the rusty nail to its limits. The pursuit was relentless. As they neared the coordinates Star had provided, a massive bolt of energy struck the ship's rear. Alarms blared as systems began to fail. "Hold on," Kai shouted as the rusty nail began to tumble, caught in the planet's gravitational pull. The next few minutes were a blur of fire, smoke, and the deafening roar of atmospheric entry. Kai fought for control, his mind melding with Star's in a desperate attempt to land safely. With a bone-jarring crash, the rusty nail plowed into the misty surface of the unknown planet. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, slowly, Kai raised his head from the controls, coughing in the smoke-filled cabin. "Star," he called out, panic rising in his throat. "Star, where are you?" A soft mew answered him, and he felt relief flood through him as the alien cat emerged from under a fallen panel, looking shaken but unharmed. "We need to move," Kai said, grabbing an emergency pack and scooping Star into his arms. "They'll be right behind us." As they stumbled out of the wrecked ship, Kai got his first look at their surroundings. The planet's surface was covered in a thick, swirling mist that seemed to glow faintly from within. Strange, bioluminescent plants dotted the landscape, pulsing with an otherworldly light. Through their mental link, Kai felt Star's excitement and nostalgia. "This place," he said, realization dawning. "It's like your homeworld, isn't it?" Star didn't reply directly, but Kai sensed a deep longing from the creature. Whatever this place was, it held significance for Star's people. They hadn't gone far when the sound of ships entering the atmosphere reached their ears. Kai quickened his pace, following Star's mental guidance through the misty terrain. As they crested a hill, Kai stopped short, his breath catching in his throat. Before them stood a massive structure, its architecture unlike anything he'd ever seen. It seemed to be made of living crystal, pulsing with the same bioluminescent energy as the surrounding plant life. "What is this place?" Kai whispered in awe. Star's response came not in words or images, but in a profound sense of homecoming. This was a luminary outpost, long abandoned but still active on some fundamental level. As they approached the structure, patterns in the crystal began to glow, responding to Star's presence. A doorway materialized, inviting them in. Kai hesitated for a moment, glancing back at the mist-shrouded sky where their pursuers were surely closing in. Then he looked at Star, felt the trust and determination flowing through their bond. "Well," he said with a nervous laugh, "nowhere to go but forward, right?" Together, the unlikely pair stepped into the ancient luminary structure, the crystal door sealing behind them. As they ventured deeper into the unknown, Kai couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of uncovering something that would change not just their lives, but the course of human-alien relations forever. The sound of ships landing outside echoed faintly through the crystal walls. Their pursuers had arrived. But within the strange, glowing corridors of the luminary outpost, Kai and Star pressed on, driven by a shared purpose neither of them fully understood yet. The interior of the Luminary outpost was a maze of crystalline corridors, each pulsing with a soft, otherworldly light. Kai and Star moved swiftly through the twisting passages, guided by the alien cat's instincts and the strange resonance between the creature and the living structure around them. "Any idea where we're going?" Kai whispered, his voice echoing slightly in the ethereal space. Star's response came as a series of impressions: safety, knowledge, and something else, a presence. They weren't alone in this ancient place. As if on cue, a section of the crystal wall ahead of them shimmered and parted, revealing a hidden chamber. Kai hesitated for a moment, then stepped through, Star perched alertly on his shoulder. The room they entered was vast, its ceiling lost in a swirling mist of bioluminescence. At its center stood a being unlike any Kai had ever seen. Tall and slender, with skin that seemed to shift and shimmer, like the surface of a soap bubble, the alien regarded them with multifaceted eyes that reflected the room's glow. "Welcome, unlikely pair," the being spoke, its voice resonating directly in Kay's mind. "I am Dr. Zix, last caretaker of this outpost. I've been expecting you." Kai blinked, struggling to process this new development. You speak English." A ripple of amusement passed across Dr. Zix's iridescent form. "I speak all languages and none. Your minds interpret my thoughts in a way you can understand." Star leaped from Kay's shoulder, approaching Dr. Zix with a mixture of curiosity and reverence. The luminary scientist bent down, gently touching Star's forehead with a shimmering tendril. For a moment, the two seemed to communicate in a way Kai couldn't quite grasp. "Fascinating," Dr. Zix murmured. "You've come so far, little one. And you," the alien turned its gaze to Kai. "You formed a bond I wouldn't have thought possible." Before Kai could respond, a distant boom echoed through the structure. Their pursuers were trying to break in. "We don't have much time," Kai said urgently. "Those people out there, they're after Star. They seek to control what they do not understand," Dr. Zix interrupted, a note of sadness in its mental voice. "Come, there is much to explain, and little time to do so." With a graceful gesture, Dr. Zix summoned a holographic display that filled the air around them. Kai gasped as he saw images of Earth, of secret meetings between humans and Luminary, of laboratories where the Starbond project took shape. "Your kind and mine sought to bridge the gap between our species," Dr. Zix explained. "The Starbond creatures were to be the first step, beings capable of interfacing between human and Luminary consciousness." Star chirped, projecting a mixture of pride and uncertainty. Kai felt a surge of protectiveness towards his small companion. "But why are they hunting Star?" Kai asked. "Why all this secrecy?" Dr. Zix's form shimmered with what might have been a sigh. "Fear, greed, the eternal failings of nascent species. Some among your military saw the Starbond creatures not as mediators, but as potential weapons. They sought to twist the project to their own ends." The holographic display shifted, showing scenes of conflict, of Starbond creatures being subjected to cruel experiments. Kai felt sick. "We shut down the project," Dr. Zix continued. "Most of the Starbond subjects were brought here to live in peace, but a few, like your friend here, were lost in the chaos. We've been searching for them ever since." Another boom, closer this time. The crystal walls trembled. "They're almost through," Kai said, tension rising in his voice. Dr. Zix nodded sullenly. "Indeed. Now we must make a choice. The ones who pursue you cannot be allowed to unlock the secrets of the Starbond project. The potential for misuse is too great." "What are you saying?" Kai asked, though he had a sinking feeling he already knew. "There is a failsafe," Dr. Zix explained. "A way to sever the connection between Star's Luminary and human aspects. It would render the Starbond technology useless to your military, but the alien hesitated. "But what?" Kai pressed. "But it would also erase the bond you two have formed," Dr. Zix finished softly. Star would become fully luminary, unable to interface with human minds. Your connection would be lost. Kai felt as if he'd been punched in the gut. He looked down at Star, saw the same shock and dismay reflected in those intelligent eyes. In the short time they'd been together, their bond had become something precious, a connection unlike anything Kai had ever known. There has to be another way, Kai said desperately. Dr. Zix's form rippled with sympathy. I'm afraid not. The choice must be made, and quickly. We can protect Star, give it a life among its luminary kin. But the cost, the sound of shattering crystal echoed through the outpost. Their pursuers had broken through. Kai, Dr. Zix's mental voice was urgent now. You must decide. The fate of not just Star, but potentially both our species, rests on this moment. Kai looked at Star, felt the depth of their connection, the trust and affection that had grown between them. Then he thought of the military forces closing in, of the suffering they might inflict not just on Star, but on countless others if they got their hands on this technology. With a heavy heart, Kai knew what he had to do. But as he opened his mouth to speak, Star suddenly leaped onto his chest, pressing its forehead against his. In that moment, a flood of emotions and images passed between them, gratitude, determination, and a bittersweet farewell. Star had made the choice for both of them. Do it, Kai said, his voice thick with emotion. Activate the failsafe. Dr. Zix nodded sullenly, its form beginning to glow with intense energy. As the room filled with blinding light, Kai held Star close one last time, cherishing the final moments of their extraordinary connection. The crystal doors burst open, armed soldiers pouring into the chamber. But they were too late. In a flash of radiance that seared itself into Kay's memory, everything changed. As the light faded and Kay's vision cleared, he found himself facing a room full of confused and angry military personnel, and in his arms, Star looked up at him with eyes that were somehow both familiar and alien, the eyes of a creature he could no longer truly understand. The adventure was far from over, but in that moment, Kai mourned the loss of something precious, even as he steeled himself for whatever came next. The chamber fell into an uneasy silence as the military personnel trained their weapons on Kai, Dr. Zix, and Star. The air crackled with tension, a standoff between two worlds that were never meant to collide so violently. A woman in a crisp military uniform stepped forward, her sharp eyes taking in the scene. I am Commander Vega, she announced, her voice cold and authoritative. You are in possession of classified experimental technology. Surrender it immediately. Kai instinctively tightened his hold on Star, even though he could no longer feel the comforting presence of their mental bond. This isn't technology, he said, his voice surprisingly steady. This is a living being, and it's not yours to take. Commander Vega's eyes narrowed. You don't understand what you're dealing with, civilian. That creature represents years of research and billions in investment. It's the key to revolutionizing interspecies communication, perhaps even warfare. You're right, I don't understand, Kai replied, a hint of anger creeping into his voice. I don't understand how you can look at a sentient being and see only a weapon. Dr. Zix, who had remained silent until now, suddenly shimmered with a burst of vibrant colors. The soldiers stumbled back, momentarily disoriented by the display. Your pursuit ends here, humans. The luminary scientist's voice resonated in everyone's minds. The Starbond project is no more. What you seek no longer exists. Commander Vega's composure slipped for a moment, confusion and fury warring on her face. What are you talking about? The asset is right there. Kai looked down at Star, seeing the subtle changes in his friend. The alien cat's fur no longer shimmered with that otherworldly iridescence, and its eyes, while still intelligent, had lost that spark of human-like comprehension. It's over, Kai said softly. Star is fully luminary now. The human part, the part you were after, it's gone. For a moment, no one moved. Then Commander Vega raised her hand, signaling her troops. Secure them all. We'll sort this out back at headquarters. As the soldiers moved forward, Dr. Zix's form began to pulse with energy. The crystal walls of the chamber resonated in response, humming with power. "You have a choice to make, Commander." Dr. Zix's mental voice was stern. "Leave now, peacefully, or face the consequences of trespassing in a place your kind was never meant to enter." Commander Vega hesitated, her confident demeanor cracking slightly as she glanced around at the increasingly unstable environment. Kai saw his opportunity. "Commander," he said, taking a careful step forward. "I was there when the failsafe was activated. I saw what the Starband project was really about. It was never meant to be a weapon. It was about understanding, about bridging the gap between our species." He gestured to Star, who was watching the proceedings with an eerie calmness. "Look at Star now. The connection, the ability to interface with human minds, it's gone. Continuing this pursuit won't get you what you want. It'll only risk starting a conflict we can't afford." Commander Vega's gaze flickered between Kai, Star, and the imposing form of Dr. Zix. For a tense moment, Kai thought she might order her troops to attack anyway. But then, slowly, she lowered her hand. "Stand down," she ordered, her voice tight with suppressed fury. As the soldiers lowered their weapons, Dr. Zix's form stabilized, the humming of the crystal walls subsiding. "You have chosen wisely," the Luminary scientist said. "Now, go. This outpost, and the secrets it holds, are not for your kind." Commander Vega turned to leave, but paused, fixing Kai with a hard stare. "This isn't over," she warned. "Your government will want answers." Kai nodded grimly. "I know, and I'll give them. The truth, all of it." As the military personnel filed out of the chamber, Kai felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him. He slumped to the ground, Star immediately curling up beside him. Even without their mental bond, the alien cat's presence was comforting. Dr. Zix approached, its form shimmering with what Kai interpreted as concern. "You have shown great courage, Kai, but your journey is not yet over." Kai looked up, a wry smile on his face. "Let me guess. The fate of interspecies relations rests in my hands." The Luminary scientist's form rippled in what might have been amusement. "In a manner of speaking, yes. You have experienced something few humans ever will. You understand, in a way your leaders cannot, the true potential of cooperation between our species." Kai glanced down at Star, feeling a pang of loss for the connection they once shared. "But how can I convey that? The bond is gone. I'm just me again." Dr. Zix extended a shimmering tendril, gently touching Kai's forehead. In that moment, Kai gasped as a flood of memories washed over him, not just his own experiences with Star, but glimpses of the entire history of human luminary interactions. "You carry the truth within you now," Dr. Zix said. "It is up to you to decide how to use it." As the weight of this new responsibility settled on him, Kai realized that his adventure was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. "So," he said, slowly getting to his feet, Star at his side, "what's our next move?" Dr. Zix's form pulsed with approval. "Now, Kai, we prepare. The galaxy is vast, and there are many who would benefit from the wisdom you now possess. Are you ready?" Kai took a deep breath, looking down at Star, then back at the enigmatic Luminary scientist. Despite everything he'd been through, despite the challenges that lay ahead, he felt a spark of excitement ignite within him. "Ready as I'll ever be," he said with a grin. "Let's change the world." The sleek diplomatic shuttle cut through the star-studded blackness of space, its destination a space station orbiting neutral territory between Earth and luminary space. Inside, Kai sat nervously adjusting his formal attire, a far cry from his usual salvage's gear. Star, curled up on the seat next to him, watched him with those impossibly wise eyes. "You think after 2 years of this, I'd be used to it by now," Kai muttered, more to himself than to Star. The past 2 years had been a whirlwind of activity. After the confrontation at the Luminary outpost, Kai had returned to Earth with a mission. Armed with the knowledge Dr. Zix had imparted and his own experiences, he had become an unlikely diplomat, advocating for renewed and transparent cooperation between humans and Luminari. It hadn't been easy. There were those in the military and government who wanted to suppress the truth, to continue pursuing the weaponization of starbound technology. But Kai had allies too, scientists who believed in the original vision of the project, politicians who saw the potential for peaceful collaboration, and a public increasingly fascinated by the idea of alien contact. Star had remained by Kai's side throughout it all. Though their mental bond was gone, a different kind of connection had formed between them. Star was a living symbol of what could be achieved through cooperation, a bridge between two vastly different species. The shuttle docked with a soft thud, jolting Kai out of his reminiscence. "Well, this is it," he said, standing up and straightening his jacket. "The big day." As they disembarked, Kai was greeted by a mixed group of human and Luminari officials. Among them was a familiar shimmering form, Dr. Zix, who had become a key figure in the renewed diplomatic efforts. "Kai, Star," Dr. Zix's mental voice was warm. "Are you prepared for the ceremony?" Kai nodded, trying to quell the butterflies in his stomach. "As ready as I'll ever be. I just hope this works." They made their way to a large, circular chamber at the heart of the station. It was packed with dignitaries from both species, as well as media representatives. At the center stood a pedestal, upon which rested a crystal sphere, a symbol of the new treaty about to be signed. As Kai took his place at the podium, with Star sitting regally beside him, he couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. From a chance encounter on an abandoned space station to this moment, the official establishment of the Interspecies Cooperative Initiative. Representatives of Earth and Luminari, Kai began, his voice carrying across the hushed chamber. 2 years ago, I stumbled upon a secret that could have torn our species apart. Instead, it has brought us together. He recounted the story of his adventure with Star, of the failed Starbond project and its noble original intentions. He spoke of the dangers of fear and mistrust, and the incredible potential of true cooperation. Today, we take the first step towards a future where our species work side by side, Kai continued. Not to create weapons or to exploit each other, but to explore the universe together, to learn from one another, and to face the challenges of the cosmos as allies. As he spoke, Kai felt a familiar warmth in his mind. He glanced down at Star, surprised. The alien cat was staring intently at the crystal sphere, which had begun to glow softly. Suddenly, Kai wasn't just speaking his own words. He felt the presence of Star, of Dr. Zix, of all the Luminari in the room. Their thoughts and emotions flowed through him, enhancing his speech with a depth of feeling and understanding that left the audience awestruck. "This," Kai said, his voice resonating with the combined will of two species, "is the true power of cooperation. Not the ability to control minds, but to share them. To understand each other on a level we never thought possible." The crystal sphere pulsed brightly, and for a moment, every being in the room, human and Luminari alike, was connected in a web of shared consciousness. It lasted only seconds, but its impact was profound. As the glow faded and the connection ebbed, there wasn't a dry eye, or whatever passed for eyes among the Luminari, in the chamber. Kai looked out at the assembled crowd, seeing wonder, hope, and determination on every face. "The path ahead won't be easy," he concluded. "We have much to learn, much to overcome. But together, there's nothing we can't achieve." With that, Kai and the lead representatives from both species approached the pedestal. One by one, they placed their hands, or appendages, on the crystal sphere, officially sealing the treaty. As applause erupted throughout the chamber, Kai felt a tugging at his pant leg. He looked down to see Star gazing up at him, emanating a sense of pride and affection that needed no psychic bond to convey. Kai knelt down, scratching behind Star's ears with a grin. "We did it, buddy," he murmured. "We really did it." As reporters swarmed forward and officials rushed to congratulate him, Kai stood tall, Star by his side. The adventure that had begun with a chance encounter in the depths of space had led to this moment, the dawn of a new era of interspecies cooperation. And as Kai looked out at the stars visible through the station's viewport, he knew that their greatest adventures were still to come. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and now humanity had new friends with which to explore it.